Hi everyone, you're watching part 2 of how to convert fractions to decimals. So in part 1 we looked at the first strategy, which just used powers of 10 as a base and creating that directly to a decimal. So in this one we will be going to use our division. So our first fraction that we're going to work on is for half, so 1 over 2. And for this division, I'm going to write it the usual way. So I'll have 1 here and 2 on the outside. So if I'm doing this, I can immediately see 2 doesn't go into 1 at all. I can't do that. So I'm going to put a 0 up the top and a decimal point. So the decimal point tells me that my final answer is going to be smaller than 1. I'm also going to add a decimal point here. So after my decimal point, I'll put a 0. So can 2 go into 10? It can. So I know that 2 goes into 10 5 times. So 2 goes into 10 5 times. That means I have 10, and 10 minus 10 is going to be 0. So I've got 0 remaining. So that means my half as a decimal is going to be 0.5. Let's do this for another fraction. What about if I have 1/8? So this is the same fraction we looked at before, and it took us a couple of steps to get to it. So for this time, I'm going to write 1 here, then 8 over here. Okay, so can 8 go into 1? No, it can't. So my first step will be to write 0. So 8 goes into 1 0 times. So I know my decimal is going to have to be smaller than 1. So I'm going to follow the same steps I did before. So now I have 8 going into 10. Can I do this? Yes. So 8 goes into 10 once. So now I'm going to use my long division to work out how much is remaining. So if I have 10 minus 8, I have 2 left over. So now I will add another 0 because I can get more accurate than this. So if I have 20, how many times does 8 go into 20? It goes in there twice, because 8 times 2 is going to be 16. So 20 minus 16, I have 4 left over. Let's add another 0, see how we go. So now I have 40. How many times does 8 go into 40? 8 goes into 40 5 times. Now this is a nice number, and I've got no remainders left over. Wonderful. So now I know that for my fraction, 1/8, my decimal is going to be 0.125. So if I scroll back up and I have a look at my first strategy, that's a bit simpler, isn't it? And I can do much harder fractions in much less time than it would take me to convert to a base of 10. Okay, so there's a couple of important things for us to remember here. And I'm just going to write them down for us. So our first one is that we're going to place the decimal point over here. So your decimal point goes after the number in the numerator. So that is right here. Okay. So you need to add as many zeros as needed. And you need to divide by the number in the denominator. Okay. So in my denominator of this fraction, I have 8. So that is the number I'm dividing by. Okay. So as you can see, I've just added those notes there for you to take down. So I'd recommend you pause this video and take down these notes into your OneNote, as they'll help you with converting your fractions to decimals, especially when you get difficult fractions. Thanks guys.